Hey, it's Jeffrey Pepper Rogers, and I'm here with another episode of Guitar Sessions. And maybe you recognized what I was just playing as something like Jerry Garcia's solo in Touch of Grey, the Grateful Dead's big hit from 1987, the only song they ever got in the top 40, and a great song for these times of the pandemic here when I'm recording this. Actually, just this week, released an acoustic cover of Touch of Grey with my collective called Dead to the Core. And so the song's been on my mind. And a few years back, I taught Touch of Grey, the rhythm aspect of it, an accompaniment part with my homespun video series teaching classic Grateful Dead songs for acoustic guitar. But in this lesson, I wanted to dig into the solo side. And through looking at how it is conceived, how it's built, sort of the building blocks of the solo, which are chord shapes. This song is a perfect illustration of an approach I like to call soloing by shapes, where you use chord shapes to navigate the neck and play over changes. So I have made lessons in the past for Acoustic Guitar Magazine introducing this approach, which is all based on the caged system. Maybe you've heard of that, which is all about using the familiar open shapes of C, A, G, E, and D as a way to navigate the neck. So basically you take those open chord shapes and you move them around the neck to form other chords. And you can use that in accompaniment, creating riffs and things, but you can also use it in soloing, and the chord shapes become your guide for what single notes you can play. So this is something that Jerry Garcia did a lot in his solos, outlining chord shapes up the neck. A really distinctive kind of style, something I definitely learned from listening to Grateful Dead music. And so I'm going to look at how this works and how it can guide you through playing a solo on Touch of Grey. So since we're focusing on chord shapes, we're not going to be getting into tab. And there are lots of good transcriptions, tab of the solo in Touch of Grey that are floating around. But tablature is very useful. I write out a lot of stuff that way. I've learned a lot of stuff that way. But it has limitations. And sometimes I think you can get lost in following numbers on strings and kind of memorizing it in that sort of numerical pattern way. Instead, what I'm going to be talking about here, soloing by shapes, is more about the musical logic. It's kind of the conceptual tool behind the improvisation that you can apply to then making your own solo. Which I think is more in the spirit of Jerry and the Dead anyway. So check it out. First, what we'll do here is take a look at the chord progression played down low on the neck. So starting with the verse, going to go from B, got a B bar chord, down to F sharp and back to B, and then E, A, E, back to F sharp, B, E. So that's the verse is like, must be getting early, clocks are running late, paint by number morning sky looks so phony. So that pattern then just repeats in the verse. So that is how that part goes. And then in the chorus, I'm going to go from F sharp to B to to E. So it's like, I will get by. Happens twice like that. I will get by. Third time, F sharp, B, and then we go A, E, F sharp, E, and F sharp, and we start over again. So the whole key to the solo is knowing where to play those same chords high on the neck. And this is where the cage system comes in. So let's take a look at how that works. So let's say you take a C shape, which I'm playing down here in open position. And then if you were to move that up 2 frets, so now I'm still holding the C shape, but I'm doing it with my pinky, ring, and middle fingers, and then I'm using my index finger to just kind of act like it's the nut here, or the capo. So this is a C shape raised up 2 frets, which gives you a D. If you move that up 2 more frets, that's an E. I'm at the 5th fret now. That gives me an F. 2 more frets. 7th fret. I got a G. 9th fret. I've got an A. And then if I'm all the way up here at the 11th fret, that is a B. So that is a shape that we're going to be using in this song. So let's take another look at this. So if I were to start with a G shape down here, if I were to move it up 2 frets, so again, I'm still holding down that shape with my ring, middle, and pinky fingers, and I'm just using my index finger as a stand-in for the nut or a capo. It's just making a bar. So that's a G shape raised up 2 frets, which makes it an A. Up 2 more frets makes it a B. 1 more makes it a C. 2 more, that makes it a D. So if I've got this all the way up at the 9th fret, that's an E. And then 2 more frets at the 11th fret, that G shape is giving me an F sharp, which, boom, is another chord we're going to use in this song. So starting back down on the neck again, with an E. There's an E shape. I'm going to form that with my ring, pinky, and middle fingers, so my index finger's free. If I were to raise that up 2 frets, I've got an F sharp, like I was using when I was just playing Touch of Grey. You'll recognize this as bar chords, you probably already know. So there's that shape, that E shape at the 3rd fret is a G. The 5th fret, it's an A. 7th fret, it's a B. 8th fret, it's a C. 10th fret, it's a D. And when I get up to the 12th fret, I'm playing an E again, which is a shape we're going to use in this song. So finally, one more example of this. If I were to take an A, so I'm going to actually play it with my ring finger here so that my index finger is free, just for illustration purposes here. If I were to move that up 2 frets, you'll probably recognize this as a bar shape that you use, and I was just using when I was playing through Touch of Grey a minute ago. There's a B. An A shape up 2 frets gives you a B. 3rd fret gives me a C. 5th fret gives me a D. 7th fret gives me an E. 8th fret gives me an F, or one more fret gives me an F sharp. 10th fret gives me a G. And 12th fret, I'm back at A again. And that's a shape that's actually going to pop up in the solo here. So basically, what we're going to do now is take a set of those shapes that are up here on the neck between the 9th and with the index finger between the 9th and the 12th frets. And we're going to string those together to play the Touch of Gray chords. And that is going to be the basis of the entire solo. So as you can see, when I was moving those shapes up, it's kind of awkward if I'm trying to play a G shape on all 6 strings. In the solo, we're just going to be using the top string, so I'm only going to be holding down, as I work through this, the top few strings. So no more than the top 4 strings. So for instance, rather than playing this full C shape here, I'll just use the top 4 strings of that same shape. So let me show you how that looks. So you can see the shapes at the bottom of your screen there, but now I'm using a C shape, but it's coming out as a B chord, and then there's an F sharp, which is like a G shape at the 11th fret there. And then I go back to the B shape. So there's my B, F sharp, B. And I'm going to do the exact same thing down 2 frets. I'm getting my E chord right there. And I'm adding these fingers on in order to play an A. Back to an E. There's my F sharp to B to E. So let me play through that verse pattern. I'm just going to use these pieces of the chord voicings up here high on the neck. So it's like this. 1, 2, 3, and... Recognize those verse changes there in what I was just playing. So that's the pattern that repeats in the verse. And then in the chorus, we start on the F sharp. So I'm right there at the 11th fret with that bar. To the B. To that E shape at the 12th fret. F sharp, B, E. Same again. F sharp, B, and then we've got the last part of the chorus, which goes from A. So there I'm just playing the bar. I'm at the 14th fret there, playing that A shape. So it's A, E, F sharp, down to E, and to F sharp again. That's the chorus. So let me run through those chorus changes again. Goes 1, 2, 3, 4, F sharp to B to E, F sharp, B to E, F sharp to B, A, E, F sharp, E to F sharp. So again, those shapes are just giving me my orientation up there. And I could totally play a solo using only notes from those chord shapes up there that I was just playing. And nothing else. But of course, those are not the only notes that Jerry Garcia is playing there. But around all those chord shapes, you'll find other notes that you can sort of add on to the shapes. And so, for instance, when I'm in that G shape, where I'm using that bar, like when I'm doing that at the 9th fret there, and I'm playing an E chord, I can add on to this, I can play that bar, and I can add on, go up the 2nd string, 1 fret above the bar, 3 frets above the bar. So I could do that up here too. So those are notes that are going to pop up in the solo that are not directly in the shapes, but they're like notes that you would use as embellishments on those chords. So those are a couple of ones that pop up with that G shape. Now on the C shape, which I'm using to play that B chord, you can, on the 2nd string here, could lift up middle finger to go down to the 11th fret and add on pinky 3 frets above the bar. That's at the 14th fret on the 2nd string. And then you could go even up the 1st string. So those are all sort of notes that are right within range of that shape that you could use. And some things that will pop up in the solo here as well. So the majority of the solo comes directly out of those chord shapes. And a few of those extra notes that I was showing you. There are 2 other just really classic Jerry Garcia riffs that are in this song, and they both come over the E chord. So in one of them, he does a this. So I've got my index finger at the 11th fret on the 1st string, and I'm going to pull off chromatically down from the 14th fret. So it's a kind of a double or triple pull off there. That is something that I just immediately think of Jerry when I hear that. That's a beautiful sound that he used all the time. So that's a little riff that comes up in this solo where it goes, pulls down to the 11th fret on the 1st string, and then up to the 12th fret. So a great little a great little line that's sweet to play and immediately brings to mind his style. So that's one classic Jerry move. Another one on the E, he winds up in this position a few times where got my index finger at the 12th fret on the first string, and then I'm pairing it with a note on the 3rd string. This is at the 13th fret. It's a little piece of an E chord, but then he goes up to the 14th fret on the 3rd and 1st string, and then up 2 more frets. So when you put that together, it's playing the 3rd string and then the 1st. It's kind of a ragtime or blues riff. He used variations on that in lots of songs. You can go up like it is there, or you could do it down. Something you'll hear him spin-off variations of a lot in songs. So those are the basic ingredients of what's going on in the solo. So let's look at a solo now itself. And going to use a backing track here where I actually took our new cover of Touch of Grey, stripped out the soloing instruments, so just got the rhythm track, and I'm going to play over it with, I've got a couple slowed down versions of it, so it can do it at around 3/4 speed and then down around half speed for practice, as well as up to tempo. And over on Patreon, you can find not only the charts for this song, but you could find these backing practice tracks too, where you can play the solo at different speeds and try improvising over that. So really useful practice tool. Take it nice and slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. Now let's speed it up a little bit. Take it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and. And here we go, up to tempo. Brace yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and here we go. So there's the Touch of Grey solo, and as I was saying, you can certainly look up the tab for Jerry Garcia's solo here. Try to do it really note for note, but I encourage you to try to play without doing that, and think about the shapes and think about making your own patterns and trying to hear it rather than getting too focused on the numbers and the exact lines by numbers, because sometimes that, I think, detaches you from the important thing, which is sort of the musical sense of what's going on. So I hope you've enjoyed exploring this tune and this solo. Thanks for watching. I'm Jeffrey Pepper Rogers, and I will catch you next time.